one of the things we love about trout, we can fish for them pretty much no matter how cold it is, as much as we can stand it. As long as the water's not frozen, we can get in here and catch some fish. But when I'm out guiding, one of the things that I just can't believe is so often missed is having the appropriate gear. And you can see on my hand here, I've got a sock, and really just look at the density of that wool sock. This is just a standard heavyweight wool sock. I've actually already got on another pair that I were to drive over. So I'm just gonna do 2 pairs of very similar heavy wool socks. I've got sweatpants on. One trick that I like, if I'm not gonna be walking too much, is to actually put a pair of rain pants on over my sweatpants. This is kind of a twofold trick. Here's why. One, it's gonna sort of help me block the current, block some of the cold. It's an extra layer of insulation. Two, if for some crazy reason my breathables do have a leak, this is just gonna help keep me a little bit drier in my lower body. If for some reason I did have a leak in my waders and it's not too bad, and it's gonna sort of help me get through the day. So we'll get our waders on, I'll get suited up, and then next we'll check out sort of how we're gonna rig up the rod. Guys, let's look at my boots real quick. The boots that I brought today, the ground is frozen. The snow is not too bad. There's a little dusting. So I'm not afraid to wear my felt bottoms. Some of you from out of state might be questioning this. We are still legally allowed to wear felt in the state of Ohio. There's no felt rule here. And so I'm gonna go ahead and wear these felt bottom boots to give me better traction on the rocks. These are the Sims Boas. I bought these boots for the first time this year. They've been out for a number of years. There's pros and cons to everything in life. I'll go ahead and just be honest with you about my review about these boots. Overall, I like them. The number one thing I like about the Boas, very convenient, on and off, very easy. I would say the only major con is they don't give you the ability to tighten evenly all the way through like laces. For me, everybody's a little different. For me, it's right across the middle, right across the top of sort of right where my ankle goes into the top of my foot, just does not totally tighten down with these. The other thing is when you do a lot of walking, they need adjusted pretty regularly. But that's not too hard to do because you just reach down, sort of lean forward to make sure that you're getting all the stretch you can and then tightening that stretch back up. So these will be the boots for today in the river on the mossy rocks. Good ankle stability too. So in this little plastic container here, I just thought I'd pop this out and show you guys some of the random stuff that I got in here. Maybe some of you would expect this, maybe some of you wouldn't, but just an array of some nymphs and a couple little white buggers and stuff. Perfect stuff for winter trout fishing. And it's got some scuds in there. We got some flashy stuff. Now these trout in particular, like most trout in the Midwest, are going to be stocked fish. Okay, that's just what we have to work with for the most part. That's what gives us a fishery. And so these fish aren't going to be that finicky so much as I want something fairly bright and flashy to get their attention. So these, you can see that with this particular assortment of flies here, I've got a lot of flashy stuff going on. This is just some stuff that I picked up actually just yesterday. Little thanks to Rob Noden for walking me through the Orvis store up in Woodmere, Ohio. Appreciate you, Rob, for showing me around your store. First time I've been in there, I think, and pretty sweet little store they got there in Orvis. Helpful folks. Rob was very helpful. I've known him for actually several years. Good young fellow that just started working there and helped me pick out some flies and stuff for today's video. So appreciate you, Rob. So guys, these are a new pair of gloves from Orvis that I picked up yesterday when I bought the flies. Also with me, so these are fleece lined, the Orvis ones. And then also I've got fingerless Sims fleece gloves that I've had for actually several seasons that held up well. I get a lot of clients show up and they want to fish with fully fingered gloves, and I get it when it's cold. But this is really almost impossible to do. It's hard to feel that fly line. It's really hard to get line management. So either wool or fleece lined or fully fleeced fingerless gloves are just kind of the way to go. Sort of help you keep your hands warm even when they're wet, and you got your fingerless. Even if you do, I don't have a pair here for example, but even if you have like the fold over mitten style so that you can warm up, but when you fish you can take that mitten and fold it back. But that, and of course just a classically good, I've got my Cuyahoga Valley National Park winter hat, a favorite one for me, but any good beanie hat, we just, you know, this is obviously very basic stuff, but I don't think I'd bring it up if I didn't see so many people fail on not showing up with this stuff. So I feel like it needs to be talked about because it's just, you know, it's brutal if you don't have the right gear, but fishing in this environment really isn't that bad if you've got the right gear. Next thing I'm gonna do is get a, I believe I brought an 8.5 foot 4-weight, and I'm gonna put that together in just a standard floating line, and then I'll just show you this basic, really simple nymphing rig that we're gonna use. You know, and the biggest key, guys, that I see, people aren't getting deep enough, and they're not getting deep enough quick enough. So really it's weight management. The fly selection is not going to be as critical as the presentation from a standpoint if we really want to get the right weight on there that's going to get us down quick, not too snaggy, but down quick with a decent amount of leader. Probably the common thing I see is just either not enough weight or not a long enough leader to get down, because these winter trout are just going to be in the bottoms of the deepest runs. They're not coming up. There's not going to be any dry fly action today. So we're just going to get deep and fairly slow. Seam edges, tail outs, classic stuff like that. All right, let's rig up. All right, guys, so next, so I've got my, it is a 9 foot 4-weight rod that I brought. And I've got actually a little bit of leader left. I'm just going to leave a bit of a butt section on here of some 1X, I believe that is. And then we're going to make a standard nymphing leader that is very similar to almost the same steelhead formula that I use. You know, one of the common misconceptions that's been taught for years, and I know I'm going to catch a little fire for this, and I'm not worried about it, because anybody that's going to disagree with what I'm about to say or this leader formula, we can compare fishing resumes if you want. That's cool. Let's dive right into this. What I'm getting at is, for commonplace for years, you've been taught on many fly fishing videos probably that we need to build this big system of leader and have all these tapers. Tapered leaders, guys, I'm gonna get really controversial with you, and some of you are gonna love this. Some of you aren't, and that's fine. Tapered leaders are only for dry flies. That's it, or for a single fly presentation. I should say that, but they're for a single fly presentation. We don't need to go a bunch of tapered when we're talking heavy nymphing rigs, and here's why. I've got so many different weights and so many different places. I have a big foam indicator. Today it's going to be a 1/2 inch diameter, probably either Oros or airlock. So I've got a big 1/2 inch foam indicator on there. I have, you know, 1 or 2 BB split shots. I've either got an egg pattern or a nymph or a beadhead nymph or a streamer that all have a different weight to them. So it's really not important to taper that leader down because I've got all these different weights going in these different places anyway. There's not going to be any advantage to tapering down a bunch of system. I'm going to use 3 basic sizes here. I'm going to drop from this 1X. which would be my top line, sort of my butt section. I'm going to drop right into a long midline section, probably in this case about 6 feet, which is where my indicator and my split shot are going to go. And then I'm going to finish out with my tippet, in today's case probably 4 or 5X, about 18 inches of this down onto the fly, and that's all we need to do. That connection, that final connection, is going to be from that sort of midsection line into the tippet the fly goes on. That knot is going to serve as my shot seat, just like it does with steelhead. That's where my split shot are going to sit so that they don't ride down on the fly. So I'll go ahead and start building this out and get a simple look at it. We'll go from there. This is actually an 8-pound copolymer. It's your diameter size if you want to look at it from a tippet. Like if you went to Maxima or something, you're going to be talking about probably sort of in the 3X range, right in there, 4X range, 8-pound right in there. Just depends on the diameter. So we're going to go ahead and connect this up to that little 2-foot butt section of 15-pound and or 1X, you may call it. We're gonna go ahead and put that on there. And the only reason I really want that heavier butt section up in the top is because all of this is going to be roll casted, just like we do with steelheading. I teach roll casting. I only traditionally fly cast a nymph rig when I absolutely have to, maybe to get under a low branch or something. And the reason for that is again, because we have so many different weights and so many different places, the roll cast tends to lay that presentation out better and keeps it from getting all tangled up. So here we go. Now we're down to the bottom of that. And then this is where I'm going to go ahead and connect my tippet for my flies. All right, guys, here we go. This is when I'm getting down to actual trout tippets. This is a favorite of mine. Particularly because it is a very good strength for what it is. We're going to use 4X. We don't have to get real crazy small. These stocked rainbows in here are not going to be that finicky. So we're just going to go down to this 4X SA, the Absolute Stealth Green and the Trout Stealth SA tippet. 4X. I'm just going to go about 18 inches here, give or take. It doesn't have to be super precise, and I'll explain a little bit later in the video too how this might actually vary and the reason why I would vary that. And that's gonna depend on water speed, not just the depth I'm fishing, but the water speed. But I'm gonna go ahead and start with about 18 or 20 inches. Looks like I'm aiming to have an 18-inch piece, so I'm gonna go ahead and get about 20, 21, just so I have a little bit of excess to trim for tying. And again, this is an important place to make a connection. Not for me so much about tapering down as it is that I want to be able to have a breaking point. So in other words, if my flies are snagged up on the bottom, I want to be able to have a breaking point where I can, worst case scenario, if I can't get those flies back, at least I can break out and get hopefully my split shot and or my indicator back. And it's also the most vital, important role that this thing fills. This connection is a shot seat. This is a shot seat. This is where the split shot sits so that it's not riding down the leader into the flies. All right, so we've made that connection. Now let's go ahead here and pick out something sweet and juicy from our friends up there at Orvis, the flies I bought yesterday. I'm going to start with a bead head, and I'll probably do, oh, there's choices. Let's start out with one of these. We'll start out with one of these hare's ears. It's always a favorite. Flashback, and then I've got some other stuff in there too. Some of these little black stones and so forth. But yeah, let's start out with this. And then I'll tell you what, for our dropper, we'll go ahead and pick that out. We'll get one of these little pink scuds here for a dropper. So that's what we're going to start with today. Okay, now these both actually have the beads in them. This is a bead head, then the scud has the bead sort of in the middle. So there's already a decent amount of weight there. And so what I want to be able to do now is sort of coordinate with the amount of split shot weight that I need. I'm gonna probably start out with one BB split shot on the rig, and then we'll see if that's enough weight to get down, and then we'll go from there. And then of course my depth adjustment is just gonna simply be raising or lowering that indicator based on you know, what I'm seeing, what I'm reading off of the bottom. Am I hanging up a lot? Am I occasionally getting a bounce or two? Or am I not getting any indication out of the strike indicator, which obviously would mean I am not deep enough. There's another, I'm a little out of sorts here. I've been kind of covering everything from one angle, but back to the primary point of this lecture right now, which is the rigging, and we're going to put this back fly on there. If I can get a loop to stick to the hook, there we go. And this is going to be another like 15, 16 inches here to fly number 2. All right. Perfect. And our pink scud. This guy's got, again, a bead right there in the center. So he's plenty well weighted as well, which again is the key. We want a lot of weight to get down where these trout are hiding out on these winter temperatures. No, those are BBs. Okay. So split shot, back to this. I'm going to choose a single BB for now. If I was running, like say egg patterns, an unweighted bugger, an unweighted nymph, I would probably go to 2. But since those flies are both beaded, I'm just going to go to 1 for now. And again, putting that split shot right above that knot, which is the shot seat. So guys, I just put a, like I said, a little 1/2-inch diameter Orvis. I like the bicolor, I like to make some orange white, whatever you can see the best. And so that's it. I'm rigged up and we are ready to hit the creek. Cool. Took my pink scud and proceeded to get wrapped in the brush pile, wrapped in the rig. Nice. All right, little rainbow trout. So basically I just walked into a stretch and I am going to sort of methodically move through here to kind of find out where they're laying. If you look up through there, you'll see there's a variety of different types of water here. I started in a deep, slow tail out, kind of shocked there wasn't anything there, but nothing there. And so I'm just going to pick apart some different pockets, runs, shoots, different speeds and depths, and hopefully we'll locate some trout up through here. So I got a plan, and I've explained that plan, and as many times as they do, the fish have other plans, or at least this one. So there's a trout in here that's actually pretty aggressive for as cold as it is, and it was actually trying to eat the bobber. This trout kept coming up, we might have that on video, kept coming up and trying to eat that float. So what I'm gonna do is switch tactics, and I'm gonna get out a bugger, and I'm just gonna sort of like swing and drag that bugger through there and see if we can get this little aggressive guy's attention. I finally hammered that pink scud trailer behind that bugger. What a bad little fish. All right, I'll bring him over, Micah, and let's get some good shots on the side of him. He's pretty. Man, he was tricky. I'll tell you what, he was being a fussy trout, man. They're not usually like that. These stock fish are usually a little easier. That was more like real trout fishing. Cool. Just kind of jigging that that bugger through there, and he was looking at it a lot but not really committing, so I just had this pink scud that I was nymphing earlier and sort of put it on as a trailer, and there you can see he whacked that pink scud there. Pretty little dude. Yeah, he is. Cool. Rainbow on. No way. That one was dead drifting the bugger. It's a hog sucker. Sweet. Well, this will take a while. I'm like, man, that really doesn't feel like a trout. Oh, yeah, little buddy. Well, that'd be great musky bait. We took him to Salt Fork. Oh, God. Look at that thing. Ugh. Just kissed a hog sucker. It's kind of, did you get that?
Yeah.
We might want to put that in there. That'd be funny. You on?
Yep.
So we've switched. We've come up to a different stretch of the stream where there's a lot more deep water and slow water. I've taken the strike indicator off because I'm just going to be working the bugger through here, because really this is a tailwater and they're just not letting a lot of water out. So we just don't have a lot of flow. So we're going to work with that a little bit. We're just going to kind of jig a bugger real slow and deep and see if we can get a few more trout here. All right, guys, I want to talk to you a little bit here about the wrap up here at the end of the day. Not a bad day, a handful of rainbows, and even got a bonus hog sucker, which we might have on film there. But looking back at the day, I think I would point out a couple things. One, it was a little bit more challenging with the super low clear water. This particular stream I'm on has just struggled to get really good water this year. So there's just not a lot of good places to get a drift. The holes that are deep are not moving well. The holes that are moving well are not deep. So that kind of brought up something I wanted to talk about, though. We talked about the basic nymphing rig at the beginning of the day, which did catch a couple of trout, but also a couple of trout, as you look back over the video, were caught where the versatility of this rig just allows me to just take that indicator away, and using the bugger on there, and I still trailered it with either the did a little bit of a Prince nymph actually for a while, a Copper John, and then the Pink Scud. And the Pink Scud really ended up kind of being the ticket, but I was able to just sort of jig that bugger through some of the deeper, slower areas where I couldn't get a good drift. These Orvis indicators, they've been out for just a little while now. They're really just so easy to go on and off, and it just gave me the flexibility to sort of bounce back and forth between hitting the deeper, slower stuff without the indicator on there, and then sort of being able to drift a few of the faster runs that had enough depth to hold a few fish with the indicator on. So pretty versatile little rig there. Real quick, I want to note too that the line that I used today was a 4-weight weight forward floating line that had I don't remember the exact dimensions on it, but the taper to it is pretty short, and it just really made it a lot easier to sort of high stick and control. I didn't have to really make any big long drifts. There weren't any big long drifts to make, do any stack mending. I was really just sort of able to go quiet, go close, and high stick a lot into some of those places where I was able to get a drift, and then just sort of roll cast 20-25 feet into some of the slower pools and jig that bugger. And you know, we got some fish on a day where there's not too many people out, which my guess is because just the fishing is pretty challenging. It did warm up. You notice my hat's gone. It warmed up enough to maybe shed a layer or two and take the hat off for a while. I would say maybe it got up to 36 degrees or something. I never really stopped getting ice on the eyelets throughout the day, but you can kind of see there's a little left from today's outing. So, but yeah, we'll give it a cast or two more here, and then probably wrap up. All right, guys, well, appreciate y'all tuning in today. Just a little snippet here on some winter trout fishing. Might be one of the last fishing videos that we're really going to get in for a little while. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Actually, if you go to our YouTube, we are going to be posting another fishing report soon. We got a big weather event headed this way, so we may not be able to get out and do a ton of stream fishing in the next couple days. It's going to get really cold, so I'm glad I was able to get out here at the tail end of the season, late December, and get a few of these winter trout before it just gets almost too bitter to really be out here. So I appreciate y'all tuning in. If you get a chance, go ahead and subscribe to this channel. It helps us out a lot, guys. Click that like button, leave us a comment on what you think, and we will see you next time here at Fish Ohio Outfitters.